This podcast is recorded on stolen and unceded Aboriginal land.
We acknowledge the First Nations and elders of this country and join their calls for justice. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
I have no intention of resigning. I wouldn't take advice from the Greens under any circumstances. Really she ought to be apologising to the men of Australia for her misandry.
We're stuck with the hosts of Chapo Shithouse podcast.
Serious danger to Australia.
Yeah, everybody, it's Serious Danger, a podcast about green politics in Australia. Back for another week. It's not an official Greens Party podcast. It's produced by Michael the Griff Griffin, who joins me on mic. Hello, Griff.
G'day. Nice to be here.
You're always here.
I'm always here. Nice to be. Yeah, I can't just run the toaster or run the kettle whilst the show's going and whilst I'm on air.
Is that what you do when we're recording? You asshole.
Oh yeah, no, I actually get a lot of stuff done while we record. Because I've got my headphones in and I'll have my laptop sitting on the kitchen bench whilst I do I do my dishes and and listening to the recording.
There you go, folks.
The inside scoop.
I am Tom Allard. I'm coming to you from the lands of the Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung people. This week, we are going to be chatting to South Australian Senator and Greens Party spokesperson for the environment and water. We've had a massive week, huge week for the environment and water this week. Sarah-Hanson Young is going to be on the show to talk about what the fuck is going on as the coalition implodes over net zero and presents themselves as the jokes they are when it comes to the climate crisis. And Labor is trying to push through terrible nature reforms. And the Greens are trying to say, hey, these laws to protect the environment should probably protect the environment. It's going to be great conversations with Sarah, and looking forward to that. Big shout out to the Danger Dogs. Thanks for supporting this show on Patreon, patreon.com/seriousdangerau. Welcome to the family, Scylla, Greer, and Andre. And we released a Patreon episode this week. You get a bonus episode every fortnight if you're a Danger Dog and you support us for as little as $3 a month. This week, another taste of our live show at the Comedy Republic in Melbourne for our 200th episode. Talking on stage with the one and only Will Anderson, the host of that Gruen show. So we thought, well, we should look at political ads and critique them and talk about them. It sounded like this.
The Greens, just for one election. I'm not saying this is like a long-term plan. But
What do we got to
if we
lose?
need to shake
One
things
seat.
up, like Trump style, you just get on and you list your enemies. It worked for
Like a
Trump,
Kanye
right?
West
Trump
betrayal
literally
list?
said, I'm going to lock these people up. And the one promise he's kept is that. He is going through
Lock
them.
them up. All right.
Gina Reinhardt, lock her up.
I mean, you get some votes. If Tom Gleeson Logie style.
Yeah, true.
If you just said, my one policy that we're running on is we're locking up Gina Reinhardt.
Just a series
And
of
then we're
like
going to
photos in a
redistribute
cage.
her wealth on behalf of the nation.
Yeah.
One sacrifice for the greater good. Oh, we've got ourselves a little trolley problem.
What do you reckon people are going to do? There you go. If you want to listen to that whole thing, just sign up to the Patreon at patreon.com/seriousdangerau. You're a fan of that, Griff. You think that we should have more Greens attack ads that just slime our enemies in this society.
Yeah, no, I really do think that's like, it's a joke that Will makes that we should be more like Trump, but I actually do think that should be the manifesto. And the only way to cut through is to be provocative. And so I do think Larissa, she was obviously got that, kind millennial mum energy, but that makes her the perfect way through. But genuinely, I don't understand why, if they're going to say Greens political party, every time she's in front of a camera, I think Larissa should say Labor sports bet party, Labor Coles Woolworths party.
Sports bet
And
party, yeah.
like genuinely, why not? Genuinely, why not?
Genocide party.
Well, I think that's, if you start saying genocide party, people will civility politics you. But if you say the Labor sports bet party, genuinely, what are they going to do? Anyway, so cut sick, Larissa.
Fact check, Larissa Waters is technically Generation X. I'm sorry, Generation X from Larissa Waters, not technically millennial mum. So
Yeah.
just as someone who's wrote a book about millennials.
That's true. Actually, I'm an elder millennial, so
A geriatric. Quick self-indulgent plug. I'm sorry, but I'm doing a show at Meanjin, Brisbane this Thursday at GoodChat, where we do our live shows when Serious Danger comes to town. Thursday, November the 20th. I'm doing a whole bunch of new jokes that are funny and tested. Don't worry. Calm down, Brisbane. It's going to be worth your money. But I'd love you to come along. Do you want to be in the door, Griff? Are you going to come?
Yes, please. Me and a comp would be great. So you're saying they're very well tested jokes. You're not doing any new material or testing out for any upcoming shows
it's all a process, That's what people see. See, peek behind the curtain. Thursday, November 20th at GoodChat. We'd love to see you there, Danger Dogs. If you want to come along, we'll put a link to the tickets in the show notes if you like. Now, before we chat to Senator Sarah-Hanson Young, wanted to get your thoughts on a little bit of Greens in the news. Little Greens Media Watch. Our good friend Max Chandler-Mather was profiled in a piece by our very good friend of the show, James Massola, in the 9 Fairfax papers.
Max was like, time to break my silence. Get me James Massola. Just like, get him on the line.
Very strange. Max Chandler-Mather on the Greens, his election loss and his return to politics is the title of it. Now, again, we've had some critiques of James's work over the course of the show, but I must say this piece was quite a interesting, well-balanced profile on a Greens MP that sort of laid out his thinking, gave him space to express his ideas. And so I'm like, wow, this is a good piece of media coverage of Max. The only problem is he's fucking lost his election. But a little bit of this, while he was fucking in Parliament, would have been a little bit more helpful. Thanks, Nine Fairfax.
Yeah, a bit of buyer's remorse. It is kind of amazing. But I genuinely, I was sort of reading it kind of expecting to see where I was sort of meant to be angry. And it is quite a even-handed article that I think maybe James's run-ins with us might have fortified his Greens journalistic integrity.
I think that's delusional, but okay, that's a theory. If you want to put it out there, then sure, why not?
No, it was me. It was me, Tom.
I say yes, it was us. It was the sheer power of podcasting. He does listen. I know that. The party did undertake an election review. This is from the article now. But since the poll, the Greens have said little about the reasons they lost seats. I don't know if that's quite true, but anyway. While new leader Larissa Waters is talented and capable, there is a sense that the party is still licking its wounds. I think that's probably fair enough. And yet, while all the focus is on the Liberals and their internal fight over net zero, the Greens have largely escaped scrutiny of their dire 2025 election result. I don't think that's true. I think there has been lots of people dancing on our graves across the board, so I'm not quite totally sure about that.
Yeah.
But Massola says there's been no obvious mea culpa. So he's talking to Max to try and get Max's read on what happened in 2025 and why the Greens lost those seats. Therefore, Chandler-Mather's frank assessment, particularly of what the Greens got wrong, is worth listening to. It's also a reminder that they sorely miss his more confrontational and cut-through style. Again, to hear that line coming out of the press gallery post-election is just like crazy. I thought he was student politics and the perfect is the enemy of the good and they can't compromise and they're rat bags and they're not taking this shit seriously.
But what I think this reinforces is something that Max was saying on Floodcast, which is that like the Greens blinked, the Greens got tricked like everyone else did, and they believed that this stuff mattered. Like they, all of the Dutton discourse or whatever, and all of the civility politics stuff, that was, we took advice from the enemy and it didn't work out well.
6 months on from the federal election and after a lot more quality time with his partner and 2-year-old son, 33-year-old, is he 33? Fuck, I'm that much older than him. That is depressing for me. Zora Mamdani's 33 as well. God damn it.
Jesus age.
Yes. We'll leave that there. They're both prophets of their time. Who isn't working full-time, weird dig, has given his first interview to this column about the Greens' political future and his own. First off, he dismisses out of hand the often repeated critique that the Greens were seen as too stridently pro-Palestine or that his decision to stand with the CFMEU at a Brisbane rally cost him personally. No on both questions, Max Chandler-Mather says. The Greens have a long history of standing up for peace from the beginning of Bob Brown's opposition to the Iraq and Afghanistan war, which was proved correct. It's a consistent moral position. Absolutely correct, Max. And God, when it comes to Israel-Gaza, Jesus, like are people seriously looking back and thinking, the Greens really overdid it. They went way too far. It's like, no, they were bang on correct. And now every major human rights organization, a UN Commission of Inquiry, and the International Association of Genocide Scholars recognize what Israel's done as a genocide. We've had reporting from the ABC and Declassified Australia showing that Australia facilitated the two-way arms trade with Australia and Israel. Israel was committing a genocide and our government, the Albanese government, is complicit in that genocide. These are just facts now. And would love to see a bit more recognition of that, not to get the credit or anything, but just to be like, just to arrange on a common set of facts, agree rather on a common set of facts would be great to see. But perhaps that's asking too much of the Australian media.
Oh, maybe. I mean,
maybe. Who knows? A lot of people I speak to now thank me for doing that. Max is referring to speaking at the pro-CFMEU rally, especially once they heard why, which is standing up for basic civil liberties. You cross the line when you go after an entire organisation. So again, this great thing around the deck that the people don't interrogate too much. This speech that he gave, Max is constantly saying that this is on a point of principle and civil liberties, which again is great to see that put on the record without it being weirdly undermined by some subsequent sentence or paragraph.
Yeah.
So then he gets into why the Greens might not have done so well. The Greens had argued for rent caps and big spending on social housing, and in part, Chandler-Mather blames extremely powerful people, including major banks and property developers, whose interests were threatened. Secondly, I think it was a mistake in that second half of the term to focus so much on talking about keeping Dutton out. In the end, we just ended up making an argument for a Labor government.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? I think that's probably bang on.
It is true. It is true, but I do think, I don't want to make excuses, but the threat of Trump was pretty bloody powerful. And as you can see, America is falling. And theoretically, if, LNP was in right now, there probably might be Dutton's dismantling things in the way that Trump is. Again, that's falling into the trick of the enemy, I guess. But Trump is such a uniquely generational, century, millennial disaster enemy that I do have more sympathy for that than people do, perhaps.
Well, sure, but maybe there was political ground in tying the Labor Party to Donald Trump. Because, obviously we've seen in Albanese's new term, very having to suck up to and roll over for him and do whatever the fuck he wants. And to tie them with AUKUS. AUKUS is a travesty, and it is completely entangling us even further with the US imperial war machine with no scrutiny whatsoever. We know that Labor Party signed up to AUKUS after, 4 seconds of consideration because they were too scared to actually make an argument against it or ask for further details. The Greens are anti-AUKUS. We've constantly been exposing how stupid this deal is. It's not that politically popular. And we say, Trump's bad. Dutton loves Trump. You know who else loves Trump? Is the Australian Labor Party, who won't challenge the US hegemony at all.
Well, yeah. But again, I don't feel like these are things that weren't being said. It's all. I don't want to keep blaming external factors, but even the Greens can fall into the trap of confusing Greens inaction with what the media lets the Greens say or think or exist in public. And so, they were all saying all these things, but again, that's why I think to cut through, it's got to be maybe about rhetoric. I think it has to be the corrupt scumbag Anthony Albanese and, dare him to defo you. Like, why not? Like, genuinely, how else is there going to be cut through? And I think if they, if you get up and say Anthony Albanese, the prime minister who takes money from Woodside, like, if you want to then have them, if you want to make it the Greens a pariah in that regard, I feel like that's a battle that the Greens are better set up to fight on. In that, like, pull the conversation to the Greens talking points like Trump does by saying that Albo is a scumbag in Parliament, and just see what happens.
Because they're part of the same system. We've got to be against the system. Zoran Mamdani was calling out a corrupt system of New York politics. Okay, so he had enemies on lots of different fronts, and he's sort of saying it's us, the people, ordinary people who want good things, against these various corporate and political interests that want to undermine you and your life. Some of them are Republicans, some of them Democrats, some of them are independents. Doesn't matter. All part of the same system. And obviously, in a three-cornered contest in a seat of the Greens, you're saying, sure, I agree with you. Dutton sucks here too. Here's why the Labor Party sucks. Here's why a vote for the Labor Party isn't good enough. Vote for us because this is what we believe in, and we think this system, represented by the two major parties, fucking stinks.
Yeah, I mean, look, as we were saying before, I'm a geriatric millennial, and my favorite film when I was 8 was Wayne's World, and the idea of selling out being bad, maybe I'll drop in that clip of Garth, here.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
Maybe I think we need to go back to first principles. Like, taking money from corporations when you're the government is indefensible.
Yeah.
And we need to try and like because it's gone on for so long, for decades, it's become normalized. But I think they need to break that normalization and be there saying you can't take corporate money. And I know that's I think it gets said a lot, but zero in on that. And beyond anything else, it's like what Punters Politics was saying about lobbying. If people really have it thrown in their faces, Labor did this because they take money from Sportsbet. Labor takes 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 money from Sportsbet.
Yes.
And if you're a Labor member, then your party takes money from Sportsbet. Your party takes money from Sportsbet. Make them actually defend it.
Yeah. In other words, this is a good quote, I think, from Max as well. Targeting Labor would have been a path to more seats. Targeting Dutton was just a political party talking about stopping another politician. Interesting. Also, at this point, the Greens didn't door knock as effectively as they could have, Chandler-Mather says, and he accepts some of the blame for that. In 2022 in Griffith, he and his team door knocked 90,000 residences, some more than once. This time, they managed only about 50,000. That pattern was repeated in target seats around the country as the Greens spread themselves too thin.
So when Max says he personally takes responsibility, is that because he only personally door knocked 20,000 houses and he didn't get to 25?
Yeah. It's pathetic.
Yeah, pathetic.
Not good enough, bro. Anyway, we don't need to go through the whole article. I'd recommend folks who listen to this taking a look at it. Max identifies 4-day work week as the next big kind of potential affront or policy agenda that the Greens should be getting behind. And
that's great.
But just stuff like this. Chandler-Mather is still thinking about big policy ideas that his party could adopt to win support from Australian voters. And there was another line. Though he is out of politics for now, Chandler-Mather remains focused on changing the system for ordinary Australians. Again, where was all this analysis when this guy was in fucking Parliament? It's like all these people in the Australian media looking at Zora Mamdani's win and going, wow, really interesting lessons about this cool young leftist millennial who's sort of critiquing the system and is unashamedly democratic socialist. Gosh, we could really do with a bit of that here in Australia. It's like, fuck you. Or I look forward to your endorsements of the Greens in the 2028 election, everybody. Can't wait for it. Can't wait.
As Matt Christman would say, they're dabbing on us.
They are dabbing on us, yes. It's like, no, we don't need Zora Mamdani. We've got Zora Mamdani at home, okay?
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Anyway, there was also, the national conference happened over the weekend too. I didn't get to be there and I don't know much about what went down. Maureen Faruqi posted her speech in which she was basically, pretty explicit in saying we need eco-socialism. We should be unashamed about that. We should trade up and say this is what we're about because it's a capitalist system that is collapsing and that's at the heart of our politics, our opposition to that and our desire for something beyond capitalism, obviously with the the maintenance of the planet at its heart. I thought that was kind of interesting too. That's also worth a look if people want to have a squiz.
Hey, your Zora Mamdani at home line, Mamdani at home line, that's a good T-shirt idea. Either the Greens or Max himself should sell that. I like it. Anyway.
All right, trademark. I want a slice of those profits.
Look, you can stay here in the big leagues and play by the rules, or you can go back to the farm club in Aurora. It's your choice.
Yes, and it's the choice of a new generation.
All right, here we go. Let's talk to Senator Sarah-Hanson Young.
But I asked about this illegal clearing of koala habitat by this coal mine, Vitronite, back in November 2024, so nearly 12 months ago. You're telling me the investigation's still going?
That's correct, yes, Senator.
How much koala habitat do you think's left?
I'd have to take that on notice.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yep.
The fact that you're still investigating the Vitronite incident is just astounding to me. And now now you expect us to believe that you're doing everything you can for this new one. These coal mine companies clearly, They see straight through you. Clear first, ask later, who cares about the koalas? I mean, it's just outrageous. It's outrageous. And if that's all you can give me after 12 months that you're still investigating, I have no faith that you're going to be doing the right thing on this new case either.
Oh, I can assure you, Senator, we are absolutely doing the right thing under the law as it currently exists.
Well, you haven't. You could have called for an injunction to stop the work on Vitronite, and you didn't.
And I think we've just explained why we haven't.
Because you're weak.
Because we're not
because
weak.
You're weak.
They are allegations.
You should withdraw
Senator.
that. You should withdraw that.
Because the department is not doing its job.
All right, everyone. She's been a senator for South Australia since 2008. And among other portfolios is the Green spokesperson for the environment and water. She's taking a novel approach of trying to protect those things as part of that portfolio, which is a really, really maverick route. Senator Sarah-Hanson Young, welcome to Serious Danger. Thanks very much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me, Tom. It's wonderful to be here. And yes, how radical to think that we should protect the environment and make sure we have clean air and clean water. Anyway.
Oh, well. I had a great moment. I was watching the news on the couch with my boyfriend last week, and there was a bit of the news, and it was you asking Murray what a question. And you said, hey, you're the environment minister, maybe think about protecting the environment. And he responded by saying, thanks, the Green spokesperson for stunts. I mean, the environment. It was just so funny. Then it immediately cut to a lower house Labor MP holding up a solar panel in Parliament. Murray, what was obviously referencing you?
Stunts at all. They don't do stunts at all. I mean, it was funny actually that quip, because I could see the look on his face as he said it. Wow, Senator for stunts. And then he realised that the stunt that I'm obviously most known for is when I brought the dead fish into the chamber because of how shit the environment laws are. Right? And what Labor have done to gut them and to give more carve-outs. So I was just like, I could see his it's a moment where he went, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
That was a really good stunt. Did anything happen to you when you brought the fish in? I'm very pro-prop. I think that everyone should bring in props. I think it's fun and enjoyable. It brings Parliament alive. Let's go
pro-prop. I am definitely pro-prop, but I'm pro-prop with, and I'm also pro the anti-prop rule, because if everyone could just bring a prop in, it wouldn't be exciting. So you have to be like bending the rules.
I see.
Otherwise people would just bring things in all the time, and it wouldn't be very entertaining.
Do you get punished? Does the speaker kick you out or something?
Well, it was very interesting because for the fish, it was huge, right? Like
big fish,
massive,
big fish.
Half the length. Like I'm not a very tall person. Like it was half my height, and so when it arrived at my office, because I'd asked for a fish, I said to my staff, I said, I want a fish. I want a salmon. I want a stinky, slimy salmon. Can someone find me a stinky, slimy salmon? I didn't say what I was going to do with it, and they're like, okay.
Shout out to the staffers, by the way. We have to follow up on all this shit.
Exactly. And, we had someone go down to Costco and find this massive salmon. And it arrived at the office, and I'm thinking, I've got no idea how the hell I meant to get this into the chamber without anybody noticing. So I had to wrap it in. I wrapped it in some newspaper and kind of stuck it under my arm and just walked with purpose into the chamber. I kind of was channeling, the 16-year-old in me getting into nightclubs. If you're meant to be there, you will be there. It was that kind of momentum. Got in there, and then my question wasn't until half an hour or 35, 40 minutes down the list. So I had to sit there with this bloody salmon at my feet, hidden, hoping that no one would notice. Anyway, yes, and then the president ordered it to be removed, and I said, "Oh, actually, I wish to table it." And I thought that was a bit funny, but I'm not a comedian.
Hey, but you've got commitment to the bit. That's I don't do prop comedy myself, but I respect it. I respect the art. You and Carrot Top, they're the two big ones.
That's right.
But an important thing is it got attention about a very serious environmental issue, which is what we're about, I suppose. Yeah.
And of course, this was on the eve of the election, right? Labor had dumped their commitment to fixing Australia's environment laws the week previous, and then in that week, on the last week of the parliament, they rushed in legislation rather than fixing and improving environment laws to actually weaken them and put this extra carve out for the salmon industry in Tasmania, which, of course, we know has just been devastating the waterways in Tasmania, particularly in Macquarie Harbour. And there is the Meanjin skate that is facing extinction because of how toxic the salmon farms are. And in the weeks prior to this, we had dead salmon, rotting salmon washing up on the beaches near Hobart. Like, it just, this, you couldn't make this stuff up. But because it was on the eve of the election and because Labor desperately wanted to win seats in Tasmania, they promised the salmon industry that they'd put a special loophole in the environment laws just for them so that they could keep farming despite what it was doing to the environment. So, and now we're, 8 or 9 months down the track from that election, and Labor has now put on the table their new kind of version of these environment laws. And rather than closing all those loopholes, there's actually more in there too. So,
good.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get into those loopholes and talk about those laws, the environment, briefly the net zero collapse that we've seen on the right side of politics, but mainly about what the fight is going on for the environmental laws that Labor is trying to get through. But just briefly, before we do that, I was interested in your take. There was this other story about the Greens this week that ran in Crikey from Patrick Marlborough. I had so much hope. Green staffers and younger members aren't happy with the party. Again, when apparently the Green staffers aren't going out to get fish, they are sending texts to Patrick. And look, it was Patrick's communications with some folks involved in the party, some volunteers, obviously some staffers. They're all anonymous. We don't know, but it's some younger people who seem a little bit bummed out. Quotes like this: "I was brimming with excitement last year. I felt like we were doing it. It felt like it was finally happening. I felt it before the election. I don't know. There was a definite rift between the young voices that make up the party's left and what I guess you'd call the party establishment, who don't want to tread on anyone's toes. That young left, which another staffer described as the Bolshie bunch, airs its discontent in group chats and reading groups where they feel safe to bag a party leadership. They alternatively dub regressive, reactionary, and fucking wimpy. They don't want us talking about the housing crisis. They don't want us harping on about groceries. They don't want us hating on landlords because more than half of the party bigwigs are landlords," another disaffected staffer tells me via X. It wasn't all bad news in there, and we can sort of talk about some ins and outs. And again, these are anonymous comments, but I was just interested in your thoughts on that, whether you saw that article and what you make of that vibe, those comments.
I did see it, and I think we have to take all comments and feedback on board. Like, if you only take on the stuff that says that we're doing great, then, that is a road to ruin for any political party. But I do think, I think what's interesting is we are still grieving from the loss of Adam and Max and Stephen, and as our lower house MPs who copped the brunt of the swing against the Greens in those seats. And that's a really hard thing to deal with. I mean, losing your party leader is devastating. I mean, look at what's happened to the coalition and to the Liberal Party. I mean, I don't think there's any way of sugarcoating that. That's horrible. How we deal with that, what we do, how we reposition, I think they're all very good questions that we need to be continuing to ask, and we don't have all the answers to it at the moment. I do disagree with the idea that we're not focused or not talking about, or people aren't allowed to talk about housing. I mean, it's just not true. I've never heard anybody say that. It's certainly not the position inside the party room. So if that's being said, elsewhere, that's not coming from the party room itself. I think we really do need to be looking at the issues that are making life really hard right now for so many Australians, but increasingly the people who have faith and support the Greens. And we know we are still, a major block of votes comes from young people, and they've been locked out of the housing market. Not only is it too hard to be able to afford the rent, but while you're doing that, there's no way you're going to be able to get your foothold in the housing market as a young person these days. And I don't even think, the bank of mum and dad is, which is what traditionally has been used to kind of bridge that gap, is increasingly not there either, because the next generation down are dealing with huge mortgage hikes. They haven't paid off their house. They haven't, so we do have a problem here. And I guess it's why we've just in the last sitting week established 2 inquiries, one into capital gains tax and one into the housing market and the kind of whole housing policy in the parliament to put spotlight on both those issues. And I think if we're the only party who is willing to talk about the structural problems that's driving this crisis, and we've got to back ourselves in that. It's not always a pretty discussion to have, but we know that that's the crux of it, and we have to keep talking about it. There's no immediate solution, but if we don't start dealing with those structural issues and putting pressure on the Labor government over those structural issues that are creating a wealth system that keeps, those who already have enough, continuing to keep that and keep growing and growing at the expense of everybody else, we're never going to be able to balance this system and never going to be able to kind of crack open and ensure that young people have a fair shot. Yeah. And, of course, environment is front and centre for us, as it's always been, and now more than ever, because we've got, this big battle with the government who have put up this really mediocre to be honest, it's worse than mediocre, let's be honest, because not only have they said, we're not going to fix these loopholes that already exist in things like clearing native forest logging, dealing with massive amounts of land clearing. They've said there's no climate trigger on the table. They will not countenance a climate trigger. We're in 2025, nearly 2026. Who do you know, Tom, who says that, environmental approval should be given to, a big developer or a big mining company without even considering the damage, the climate damage that project is being done? How can that be given environmental approval without even considering it?
A lot of my friends say that. I'm friends with a lot of Labor ministers and fossil fuel CEOs, so I hear that a lot. In my social life.
When you're hanging out with the fossil with your mates at Chevron, your drinking
I do a lot of
buddies at
corporate gigs
Chevron,
at the Chevron Christmas party. They love my stuff.
But even the business community actually know deep down that if they don't have proper environmental credentials for their projects, they're not going to get a social license. Yeah. And if you're not even considering the carbon pollution and climate damage that your project is going to create as part of your assessment, you can never really tell the community that it's going to be okay.
Mm. Okay, again, I do definitely want to come to this. I'll just one last question on this particular front. I think grieving in terms of where people are at with the party is a good way to put it. Other people have said sort of licking its wounds. There's been a review. People are still thinking what the pathway forward is. My little theory is I think there's a decent argument that we all got potentially a little bit overexcited in 2022. Okay, now I was there. I was at national conference after the 2022 election. It was exciting. People worked their butts off. It was a real breakthrough moment of the party. It was fantastic. But I think perhaps while the sense was, the only way here for the party is up in 2022, and when that didn't eventuate and we had these losses both at the state and the federal level, I think the reverse of getting overexcited in 2022 seems to be some people being like, that's it for the party or that's it for the movement, and rumors of our death have been greatly exaggerated is how I put it.
Well, and look, I've been in Parliament quite some time now, and I've seen us lose seats, and I've seen the party do really well in elections and then go backwards in elections, and of course that's happened at the state level as well. We've lost MPs in certain state elections and then won them back the next time. I mean, this is politics.
Yeah.
I'm not, and I don't. I guess that's why I don't think we can sugarcoat how devastating it is to lose your leader. It absolutely is. But you've got to look at the overall results. We actually had a record vote across the country for the Greens, and at a time when the Labor vote was holding up because of people's just being absolutely freaked out about Trump and uncertainty. And incumbents governments traditionally do well in times of uncertainty. It's just that the uncertainty wasn't, a domestic uncertainty to the same extent as it was internationally. And also, what was being offered by the Peter Dutton kind of coalition was just it was still just so out of the realms of where Australians were at. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they basically take their cues from, Sky After Dark and what's going on in the right-wing circles of the US. And they misplaced where Australians were at as well. I mean, we have compulsory voting in this country. We have a preferential system and we have an independent electoral commission. These are all things that if they existed in the US, I don't believe you'd have Trump as president.
Yeah, that's certainly true. It wasn't all bad, this article. I will read this last quote from one staffer saying, "I remain hopeful. I think the party's at a crossroads, and I think it, just by the nature of the young people joining up every day, is going to head in the right direction. We're the only party that really cares about the things that matter, that are going to matter more in the near future. I think that future's ours to win."
Well, I must say, the excitement that you kind of described in the 2022 election, I think, a lot of people had that experience. But here in, my home state, South Australia, we had in this election our highest vote ever.
Yeah, right.
We had the biggest swing to the Greens in the country and hundreds of, in fact, thousands of new volunteers and people involved in the campaign, increasingly young people who take that mindset. Look, if they're going to, young people, if you're going to sit back and let, the baby boomers drive, the planet over the cliff, then you may as well give up hope. But actually, I think what we are offering is not just a vision for a better, fairer, cleaner future, but actually for young people to be part of that and to have agency in that. And that excitement that you describe in 2022, I really felt here this election in South Australia. And I think, it's not all bad. It's not all bad at all. In fact, I tell you who wants us to feel all bad about it is the fossil fuel corporations. They want us to be slitting our wrists. They want us to be, drowning our sorrows. They want us to be tearing each other apart because if we're the only ones who are going to take them on. And it's not just the fossil fuel corporations, it's the bloody rest of them. I mean, I watched the episode that you did with Emerald about Optus and the Optus outage, for example.
Yeah.
Been working on that quite a bit. And I just think, that you've got these big multinational corporations who, from, whether it's fossil fuels to the basic service of being able to call the ambulance and 000, don't give a damn about the public interest. They don't give a damn about anything but their profits, and for far too long they've been allowed to get away with it. And we're the only ones who are actually going to hold these people to account. Yeah. I mean, you can trust the Greens to tell a CEO that they're assholes. You can't trust anybody else to do that.
Just bring in another fish. Throw a fish at Optus too. Fish for everybody. That's what I say.
Fish for everybody. That's right.
Well, I got the dead fish blue. Oh, my fishy friend is swimming in the heavenly sea.
Well, talking of fish, I mean, we've got a lot of dead fish on our beaches here in South Australia because of the climate crisis, right?
Yeah.
The warming oceans created this, perfect, terrible situation for this toxic algal bloom. On our metro beaches, we have fish washing up, marine life washing up every day, dead. I mean, if you want to know the real impacts of the climate crisis, you walk down to Glenelg here and have a look. And you can't swim because it's not safe. It's called toxic for a reason.
All right, let's get into it. I mean, yes, the environment, that is your portfolio. We've talked about it already in our conversation. But I mean, good Lord, the implosion, and again, we will get to Labor's terrible ledger reform laws, I promise. But the implosion we've seen of the coalition right and this debate that continues to play out has been truly insane and truly disheartening. We know the Nationals have walked away from the idea of net zero by 2050, that commitment, that's gone for them. And we had a big meeting of the Liberal Party on Wednesday afternoon, went for 5 hours, and apparently a majority of Liberal MPs say they want to dump the party's commitment to net zero emissions target by 2050. Dan Tehan came out and he said there was pretty much unanimity among MPs on a set of principles to guide the party's position, which prioritised a stable grid, affordable power, and reducing emissions in a responsible, transparent way that ensures Australia does its fair share. Now, we are recording this chat before we've got the Liberal Party actually coming out. They're meeting as we speak to figure out what the hell they think about climate change and what the hell they're going to do about it.
They're meeting as we speak, but we kind of know what's going to happen,
I guess
right?
we know what's going to happen. Apparently, they're going to dump net zero by 2050 while staying in Paris. Apparently, that's how they're going to pull off. What have you been thinking watching all this absolute nonsense in the year of 2025, the year of our Lord?
Well, first of all, I would say Barnaby Joyce has killed the Liberal Party.
It seems that way.
Right? Like it's, I mean, this is extraordinary. We have had, when I first came into politics and got elected to the Senate, we were having the debate, Kevin Rudd was Prime Minister and there was a debate about the CPRS and kind of for the first time, because John Howard refused.
I haven't heard about that. What was that?
I haven't heard about
CPRS? Have I got that right? Okay.
Exactly. Were you even born, Tom, at that point?
I was alive but blissfully unaware what the hell the Labor Party was up to cook the planet.
So it's and that was the Liberal Party rolled their leader in the midst of that. First of all, actually going back even further, John Howard, one of the key problems with John Howard in the 2007 election was that he refused to sign the Kyoto Protocol, right? Mm-hmm. So right from back then, the Liberal Party have had a problem with climate policy, and it is absolutely haunted leader after leader after leader in the Liberal Party, and they've chopped and changed leaders so many times over the issue. They've chopped and changed their policies, and people want to argue about why we've got high electricity prices in Australia. It's because of a decade and a half of the Liberal Party not having a clear position and massive uncertainty in the industry, and in fact continuing to spend taxpayer money instead of getting the transition done. They're still spending billions of dollars propping up the fossil fuel industry, right? At a time when we're meant to be reducing carbon pollution and moving on. Everyone knows, every scientist you talk to, every expert you talk to, if you want to lower electricity prices, you've got to get more renewables and more storage. And if you can do it on people's homes, we need to make sure we can get them into those rental properties as well. Actually, you don't just reduce the prices in the short term, you reduce them permanently. Mm. And who doesn't want that to happen? Or those big corporations who are making massive money off these huge bills, right? So I think the coalition are really playing, not only have they got their head in the sand on climate change and this is the kind of anti-science, anti-environment kind of, culture war agenda that they're running, but they are also running cover for the big energy companies, the coal and the gas companies who are price gouging and are squeezing Australians for everything they can right now at a time when we should be doing the exact opposite.
But it's a fundamental ideological opposition to the idea that the state would intervene and stop a profitable activity, right? Like if we can keep making profits from this industry, who is the government to come in and stop it, particularly for the sake of the environment, for God's sakes? Like, no, capital and industry must win out there, and we've got to keep this profitable industry going for as long as it lasts. Quite simply, fuck the environment.
That's their position. And I heard actually this morning that one of their newer shadow ministers, Melissa McIntosh, has now called for new coal. So not only extending, so who's going to pay for that? taxpayers are going to pay for that. So I asked the coalition, and what's Susan Ley going to do to roll out this new policy of no net zero and no climate policy? It's going to be they're not going to be cutting pollution, but they're going to be hiking people's taxes. So see how that goes down in your bloody electorates, guys.
But it's like, yes, I mean, I guess there's a level of honesty to it. Like, I think the impossible position that we had since Scott Morrison committed the coalition in a desperate move in 2021 to say net zero by 2050. I remember there was a massive fucking News Corp campaign.
I was going to say, remember News Corp, and that was
Joe Hildebrand out there saying, "Look, everyone, it's fine."
Oh, that the coalition climate warrior, Joe Hildebrand, just on his horse, like, yes, this is the way to go. I remember that campaign. That was extraordinary, wasn't it? After decades of News Corp holding back climate action, holding back countries like Australia doing what we need to do, helping people invest in cleaner, cheaper power.
Yes. Actively funding climate denial, and which they are still doing to this day.
Exactly. And, front page after front page saying, we've got to net zero is the most economically reasonable and rational thing to do. Fast forward 3 or 4 years and they are just in total dismay about this. I mean, I remember that whole campaign and Scott Morrison signing up to net zero was on the eve of him going to the climate COP in Glasgow. And I was there on the day that he arrived. And, man, he got the worst hearing from people. And this was also because he just left the conference in Rome, I think it was, where Macron, the French president, called him a liar. So the liar had walked into the room, been told by News Corp to back net zero, and then didn't really know because he didn't believe it.
No.
He didn't believe it. He never believed it and couldn't even speak to it. And it was I think he had 3 minutes on the stage because each of the leaders kind of and he had 3 minutes on the stage and people were like, that was bad.
Oh boy. No good. I mean, yes, it was, you talk about, the fantasies of the left sometimes we get accused. It was like, no, the fantasy of net zero by 2050 that was completely cost-free, basically. It was framed as like, everyone, fossil fuels can keep going, technology, not taxes, technology ambivalent, without having the courage to say, if you really believe in the climate science and you're really listening to the scientific community, you have to say certain industries have to end because their continuance will cook the planet, which is the problem we're trying to avoid here, right? So it was always a fantasy. So I'm into people dropping support for a policy that they never fucking believed in. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. But I mean, we've still got climate denial is still alive and well in the Australian Parliament in 2025. Like, there's no other explanation for this. Matt Canavan, you're in there. Does this guy actually believe in the science of climate change, or is he just basically a denial in all but name?
I think there is a lot of. I heard a friend, a Liberal Party friend, once told me that the Conservatives in the Liberal Party, increasingly being, this is kind of, this is just before the 2022 election, where they got, smashed, of course, and by all those teal seats in particular. Yeah. And he said that the Liberal Party was increasingly being taken over by conservatives of convenience.
Okay.
And so, I think they're probably the worst kind, aren't they? Like, if you think that taking this right-wing anti-science, anti-climate perspective is what you need to shore up your votes internally in the party, who would you prefer to be out there speaking? Those who actually believe this stuff, or those who are just doing it for convenience? And I don't know where Matt Canavan sits on that. I think increasingly, he certainly doesn't think we should be doing more on climate change. Is he dumb enough to not understand the science? And I don't know, but it's certainly a matter of convenience for him.
Well, and then I'm reading that the big anti-net zero push within the party room was from James Patterson. And I know he's from the IPA, but wasn't he supposed to be a goddamn moderate? Isn't he a moderate man? I don't know. Anyway.
Well, I mean.
Is that ridiculous? Maybe I've
because he's from Victoria?
Yes, the greatest state of all. No further questions on that. Yes. But then you go, okay, okay, so obviously the coalition are dealing themselves out of this conversation completely. They're a laughing stock. They seriously think they can, I guess, win electorally by going anti-climate policies, which just every opinion poll and every understanding of where Australia is at gives a lie to that. So then you go, okay, cool. Well, I guess the Labor Party, at least more more aggressively say and believe and invest in the idea of believing in climate change and taking climate action. And then you see shit like this speech from Labor MP Dan Repicoli, is that his name? From The Hunter, the big tall guy who shaved his beard. And Ketan Joshi wrote a piece in Crikey about this.
By the way.
He's a large man.
He's
a large
huge.
man. And there's another lady who's a very short lady, and we love the big and short. Me and Emerald are very similar. Anyway, Ketan Joshi wrote a piece in the coalition saying, forget the coalition, Labor has already abandoned net zero in all but name. And he quotes a speech that Repicoli gave in the parliament saying this, I don't know if it's selective hearing, genuine misunderstanding, or just plain ignorance. But whenever we talk about reducing our emissions, those opposite leave out the most important word in net zero, net. Net zero does not mean shutting down industries. Net zero does not mean zero emissions. Net zero is about one thing, offsets. It means we take as much carbon out of the atmosphere as we put in. It's simple and practical, and industries in the Hunter are already doing it. And this is a guy who's straight up saying that we don't need to end coal whatsoever. We can totally keep doing it. We can all just offset it, reach our net zero targets, and everything will be hunky-dory. And you go, well, you may as well not believe in climate change either then, mate, because your actions and your support for that policy.
Well, and I think this is part of the problem, right? When you've got the coalition who are like right out on the fringe, kind of running this crazy Trump-style anti-climate, anti-science agenda, it gives too much space, really, all this space to Labor to be mediocre and pretty shitty on all this stuff. And I mean, in one way, that speech is illuminating because he is also kind of belling the cat about how bullshit net zero is, as opposed to real zero, which is what we actually need to get to.
Right.
You know, we actually need. There's going to be some industries, of course, that are really hard to abate, and that needs to be dealt with. We know we need steel, we need aluminium. How do we do that? You know, in the transition, there's moves towards trying to make them powered by, green energy, and that's good. But you know, that's quite some way down the track. But there are areas that are going to be harder to abate. But net zero should not be about allowing the expansion and continuation of the fossil fuel industry as opposed to other areas that are much harder to abate. So I think we need to be, maybe this is an opportunity with the coalition, dumping net zero, that, there's space for us to be out talking about real zero, because that's actually where we've got to get to. This whole idea is reducing pollution, not offsetting. I mean, if we're already experiencing temperature rise, and I referenced before the what's going on the South Australian coastlines, that is because the sea out here on the coast here in South Australia, along the metro beaches, is several degrees warmer on average than it should be already.
Yeah, and
so we're already there. We can't be. So is this where we're just, we just think we kind of level out in 2020, 2050? By that point, we're going to be in a much, much worse position, which is why we're pretty frustrated that Labor's 2035 emissions target was so low, really in the 60s, when it needed to be well north of.
It was a range, Sarah. It was a range.
Oh, it's a range. Yes. Imagine if, I don't know what your mum would have said when you came home saying, your range was like, D to B.
Somewhere in there.
I think she would have said D's closer to an F, Tom.
Oh, God. All right, let's talk about what's happening with the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act, the EPBC Act. These are the nature reforms that have been hotly contested in the Parliament. This is where the big fight is at. Just briefly, again, we're recording this on Thursday. Things might be changing. My understanding is negotiations were happening out there. Obviously, Labor needs either the Coalition or the Greens in order to get this through the Senate. They ruled out a climate trigger. They ruled out a truly independent EPA. This is against Labor's nonsense that they're putting out there, but this is their position. They did make a whole bunch of concessions to the coalition. There was a moment where it looked like the coalition would support it. That's since been wound back. Right now, it is still up in the air as to whether which side of the Senate is going to support get these through. And Labor's intention is to try and pass them in the last remaining week of Parliament before the end of the year, which is the last week of November, and are about to kick off, chaired by you, I believe, a Senate inquiry into these reforms. Is that a adequate summary of where we're at?
Yes, the only clarifications, I'm the deputy chair of this committee, not the chair of this one. So that's okay. That's fine. It means I can be a bit, I don't have
more of a rat bag, more fish.
Yeah, I can more fish, a bit more of a rat bag. Look, yes, I think what's really clear is, the government had been, they'd run these consultations over the last few months with both some of the big environment NGOs and business groups, including reps from the fossil fuel industry, the MCA, the Minerals Council, the BCA, and others. And then they kind of were running these consultations, and people were increasingly, from the environment perspective, worried about where this was all going. It's quite clear now that we've seen the legislation and it's tabled that it's been written to try and get a deal with the coalition, because it's pretty much what business wants. It's what the fossil fuel corporations want. I mean, the people who have backed this are the BCA, the MCA, Chevron, BP.
Yep. They love the environment.
Alcoa,
Yep.
So they're the ones who are out there saying, the coalition have got to pass this, and they are worried that if the coalition don't pass it with the Labor Party, then the government will come to us in the Greens, and of course we're saying, well, this is not worth the paper it's written on. It's been penned for big business, the big loggers and the big mining companies. Meanwhile, there's more loopholes in here that undermine environmental protection. There's no protection for our native forests.
Yep.
And you talk about in 2025, if we're going to fix environment laws that have been failing nature for the last 20 years, well, we should really be stopping the destruction of our native forests if that's the case.
Yes,
and, of course, there's no climate trigger or even climate consideration included in this bill. So if the government had wanted to do a deal with the Greens, it would have been their first draft would have been much better than what's on the table. I think.
So, have you had any negotiations with them at all at this stage?
I've been speaking with the minister.
Okay.
And I actually had a meeting with him this week, and I said to him very clearly, I said, mate, you've got to pick a lane. You've got to pick a lane. You've got to decide what you want these laws to do, because if you want them to protect the environment, then you're going to have to fix them, and you're going to have to deliver something on native forests and climate, because if you don't do that, we can't support them. But if you want laws that just satisfy the mining industry, well, you go and do that with the coalition.
Well, we can have both, Sarah. See, Murray Watt's just invested in this is going to be a win for the environment and business, because the interests of the natural world and the ordinary people and fossil fuel capital, they're completely aligned. They're in no way diametrically opposed.
And I think that is utter bullshit. And I think...
good point.
Good point. But that's the problem here, is that Labor have got themselves into this ridiculous bind where they think that somehow you can do both. And the environment has been so trashed. Our climate is in crisis, and we're running out of time to fix these things. You actually can't you can't do this without creating some losers.
Yes.
And the losers have to be those who are destroying our forests and polluting our climate. If you
have billions of dollars.
And have billions of dollars, and they should be able to transition. Do something else. You shouldn't get a free ride. These laws, the way they've been written, and this is one of the things I'm really worried about, is not only is there no climate trigger in this, but it actually is worse than that, Tom, because it allows for coal and gas to be fast-tracked. accelerated.
Right.
So it's worse than the status quo because at the moment, the mining companies, they all complain that these laws, the existing laws, the status quo is it's too slow for them. They can't get approval. This would put coal and gas in the fast lane for approvals. And that is bad, obviously, if we're trying to arrest, dangerous global warming and trying to get the transition. The government's out there saying, we want to see housing and renewables prioritised and fast-tracked, but they've put everything in the fast track.
Yeah.
So coal and gas get accelerated. Forests continue to be logged. There's no consideration of the climate damage of any of this. I can't sign up to it the way it is. I just can't, and I won't be. And I've said that very clearly to the minister that if he wants to work with the Greens, if he wants to, then it's going to have to be genuine environment protection.
Okay,
but the ball is in his court now.
Right. Well, I'm guessing, based on this ABC News article about the campaign that Labor and some backbenchers are running around this to try and gee up some support against the evil Greens who dare to protect the environment in this debate around environmental protection laws. They say, well, we will write this compromised legislation to try and win coalition support. If we don't get coalition support, we will then call your bluff and put it on the Greens and use a similar strategy that they've used in the previous parliament, describing the Greens as blockers, perfect enemy of the good. I don't need to explain this to you. You're fully across it. And really try and stare you down and say, we're not conceding anything. We are going to make you vote down these laws and wear the political cost, and we can complain about it forever. And they're particularly going after the analysis that these laws are worse than the status quo. Okay, so again, the bar is lowered so low for Labor, they get to say, in their view, and we can contest this, that this is at least improvement on the status quo. Pass this now, and we can improve it better down the pipeline. What do you say to all that? This political strategy we're seeing from Labor on this front?
Look, I think, firstly, all you've got to do is look at what happens every time Murray Watt or the Labor Party post anything online about these laws. They get smashed. Like, I don't know if you've read any of the. I saw the minister had posted some reel the other day saying, 5 reasons the Greens should pass these laws, these business written, laws that are going to fast track coal and gas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You look at the comments, and no one's buying this rubbish. Yeah. No one's buying this rubbish. So, I'm thankful that people who are engaging with this, activists and just concerned citizens who are engaging with this, can see through this kind of spin. And I come back to the basic point: if BHP and Chevron think this is good, there's something wrong with them.
That's funny. Yeah, you had a great graphic that was, the list of organisations criticising Labor laws: Australian Conservation Foundation, the Climate Council, Greenpeace, the Conservation Council of WA, Lock the Gate, the Australian Youth Climate Coalition, 350.org, the Australian Marine Conservation Society, who I've always considered to be in the pocket of big marine.
I do love actually that, and you get this from both the Liberal Party, and you do get it from people in Labor, that, the environment lobby.
Yes.
The vested interests in the environment movement. And I'm like, you mean the koalas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the worst.
Yeah, the koalas. The koalas are paying a lot to fund the political campaigns of Labor's opponents. I mean, come on. Where is the vested interest? That it's not the koalas and the swift parrots that are, funneling heaps in election donations to political parties. It's the fossil fuel companies.
Labor MPs can't get a job as a koala when they live with parliaments.
No. I mean, I guess they could. They could put on one of those Wilderness Society suits and go around rattling the tin. But I'd say leave that to the uni student who needs some extra cash. Thanks.
All right, last question. We're going to finish up, Sarah, and thank you so much for laying this out, and thank you for fighting the good fight here. But so what I'm hearing is that the Greens, if these laws do not improve, if there are no concessions whatsoever, if Labor seriously, serves up this trash in a complete repeat of the CPRS moment in which bad environmental laws were made worse through negotiations with the coalition, and the Greens were then expected to support them after having already voted them down. The Greens are prepared to say no to these, go back to the drawing board, and we've got to get it right.
Look, at this point, Tom, I can't. The way they are, we can't support them.
Yeah.
So it really is up to Labor. They've got to pick a lane. Do you want to work with the coal? I mean, how does Labor justify passing and begging the coalition now to pass these laws?
Yes.
When they've just dumped net zero.
Just dumped net zero.
I mean, no
we're
wonder.
working in environmental protection with the people
BHP
who don't
and
think
Chevron.
climate change is real.
Oh, I mean, the Chevron, the Minerals Council, the big miners, the big loggers, they are, chomping at the bit for Labor to be this foolish, chomping at the bit. And so I just think, that's on them. I have been talking to the minister. I've put to him, I want better protections for the forest. I want better protection for the climate. That's where the Greens are, and we'll see where it goes from here. But I've put very clearly to them, as has all of our party room, that we cannot support the rubbish that's currently on the table, because it does not protect the environment. It doesn't guarantee environmental protection, but it does guarantee that the fossil fuel industries can get a fast track.
Yeah.
And while this bill fast tracks coal and gas and fails to protect forests, I don't see how it can be even claimed that this is better than the status quo.
Here. Thank you very much, Senator Sarah-Hanson Young, for joining us on the show. Thank you for keeping up the good fight. Stick to your guns in a peace and non-violence kind of way. And thank you very much. Look forward to talking to you again.
Oh, so nice to be here. Thanks, Tom.
October 17th, 2021.
The Daily Telegraph's Joe Hildebrand has been writing a series of articles in an attempt to explain the investment opportunities which may lie ahead of us once we embrace a more renewable energy future.
For example, in China, this, taking a peasant agrarian economy into a middle-class urban economy, that requires huge amounts of power. And I suppose the global consensus is, well, we accept that that's going to take a little bit longer, and it's not really fair to put the same amount of pressure on those kinds of economies as it is on first world economies, where we actually can transition, to use that terribly overused cliched word, to clean power and actually be economically better off. And from what I've seen, just having my head buried in this stuff over the past 3 months or so, there is actually a really powerful economic argument that Australia can be not just no worse off in a net zero economy, but actually far, far better off, and that we are uniquely geographically and economically blessed by the other minerals we have in the ground beneath our feet to be able to generate the sort of things that the world is going to need for a long, long time.
Thank you, Senator. Very good to know that fight is out there, and that people in the Greens party room are prepared to negotiate, sure, but also reserve the right to vote down laws that are, and I think Sarah did a good job there of laying out why, these, in many respects, these laws could actually be worse than the status quo. When that happens, of course, we will get the cavalcade of critiques and the idea that we're blockers and we don't care about the environment and perfect enemy of the good. And once again, I hate blinking. As people who came to our live show know, I'm against blinking. We cannot blink. We need to explain and stand by our principles on that particular front. That's what I think. Anyway.
Excellent.
Thanks so much for listening to our show. Rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening now. If you like this episode, share it with a friend. Spread the word of the love of Serious Danger. We can grow the show. That means we can do more cool stuff. Follow us on social media at Serious Danger AU on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Or you can always go to SeriousDangerPod.com. If you're a patron, if you're a Danger Dog, always send us a message or an email about the show, your thoughts, your comments. We love hearing that stuff, and we want to make this show for you and incorporate that into what we're doing.
Oh, and speaking of Patreon, this one's the one that came out yesterday when we were recording this. The one that came out on Friday is really good. I mean, Will Anderson doing half an hour of ruined jokes about politics ads. It's I recommend it.
Well worth your time. We'll catch you next week, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
Serious Danger Australia.